Okay, well, I'm back at it once again. Actually had a few free moments to take a look at the Nakamichi BX-300. It came back again. Well, it never really came back again. It just came back once. So, customer said it ate a tape again. What could possibly be going on with this thing? Could it be a bad take-up motor? Or is it a bad loading motor? So, I'm going to try to definitively this time determine, is it a loading motor issue or a take-up motor issue? Because as you recall, on the first installment of this Nakamichi, which I will try to put a link up here in the upper corner to the first installment, the loading motor was kind of sluggish. And I had to help it a couple of times to get it through the rough spots in its life. And after that, it worked perfect. But it might be this motor, which is the real take-up motor. So what I'm going to do, as in the last video, I have my 2 ohm meters set up. This one is going to measure the voltage at the loading motor, and this one is going to measure the DC current of the loading motor. So I do have it plugged in. I'll power it up. Okay, power has been applied. I have not pressed the power button on it yet. I'm going to load a tape into it and press the power button, and the motor is running. So let's go ahead and hit play, and we'll try to watch the voltage and the current simultaneously and see what it wants to do. Oh, that was interesting. I've only got 1.6 volts and only 2.2 milliamps? Why do I only have, now I only have 0.3 volts. What is going on with this thing? Do I have a bad test lead? Yeah, I should be having about 7 or 8 volts at that loading motor. Okay. Well, time to explore this a little bit further, I guess. Okay, so I went ahead and I moved the voltage probe to the supply side, so I'm not reading it actually across the loading motor. Oh, and I'm getting the 7 volts, so I must just have a bad test lead. That's got to be it, because I should have more than 1.6 milliamps. Okay, time for some more troubleshooting investigation. Okay, I went ahead and I moved the leads around a little bit, and we'll see if it makes any difference. Now we got no voltage. Well, that might be B-roll then. And, oh, that's why I have no voltage. The lead popped off. My bad. Okay. Huh. Did my meter go flaky? I'm going to say yes. My meter may have gone flaky. Well, it's kind of handy when you have extra meters handy. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure ohms, which should basically be like 0 or 1 ohm here. Oh, and look at that. I've got 9 mega ohms. So is it... Nope, that one's good. Did I blow a freaking fuse in this thing? 3.4 mega ohms. I must have blown the 400 milliamp fuse. Okay, well, if that's the case, then we'll move over to the 10 amp scale. And then I'll go ahead and do the resistance measurement once again. Oh, I'm a dumbass. All right, that's all going to be B-roll. It helps if you plug it in the right holes, ding-dong. Oh, okay. Wow, unbelievable. So I'm going to go ahead and move. I want to measure voltage at the motor directly. And I will put this on the 600 milliamp range. And let's do an ohm check real quick just to make sure that I'm not losing my freaking mind. We should have close to 0 ohms here. And I'm looking at the wrong meter. God, I'm just losing it today. What the heck? Well, I saw low ohms. I saw like 2 ohms. I can't get on that probe really good. It's an odd shape. Okay, 2 ohms. I'm perfectly fine with that. This meter out of the way. You go back up there, hanging up on the workbench. And we will change this back over to 60 volts. And let's try this again. There we go, power on. Motor is running. And we'll hit play. And I saw my 7 volts that I need, but I'm only getting 6 milliamps. Oh wait, I'm in AC. God. Okay, let's try it again. DC milliamps, duh. Okay, 33 milliamps. That's not nearly enough in my book. Let's put it on 600. I would expect to see 200 or 300 milliamps. I'd have to look back at the previous video to see what the milliamp was on this thing, but I'm seeing 36 milliamps. I am getting a good 7 volts, 7.4 volts. So let's try this test. And I'm just going to try to move the armature in and out slightly. And we'll hit play again. And look at that, I saw 160 milliamps and it loaded. 170 milliamps, 80 milliamps. I think we got a used up loading motor. Because all I did was move the armature in and out, which is going to scrub the brushes just a little bit. And now we're doing fine. Let's go on min-max. And we'll load it and unload it a couple of times. Oh, and it's stuck. Did it eat the tape? It started to. There it loaded. There it unloaded. Just for scientific purposes, let's go ahead and reestablish min-max. I want a good load, a good unload. Oh, it's struggling. Did you see how slow that was going right there? Okay, so what's our min-max? 170 and minus 151. I'm pretty happy with those numbers. It's stuck. There it loaded that time. And it did a full unload. 172 and 148. All right. Well, let's see if I can get the mechanism out of this thing and get this motor torn apart and possibly clean the commutator and the brushes, if they are actually brushes. Well, there seems to be a big empty spot right here because that is where the mechanism lives. So I did actually get the mechanism out of the unit. Now we can start tearing this thing apart to get this motor and mode select switch assembly out. Well, let's see if this thing's going to cooperate peacefully. Okay, well there I can get to the screw that holds the shaft of the motor in place. And it came out very nicely. Thank you very much. And then I believe there's just one more screw hiding here, but the motor speed control board is right in the way. Wonderful. Nice if they made the leads just a little tiny bit longer, maybe. So I'm hoping that it just lifts out, and it does. Okay, good. And of course they soldered the wires to the board. Thank you very much. So we'll have to unsolder that one common, and then we'll unsolder the two motor drive wires, which I already have the positive, which is the white unsoldered. So I'm going to draw a quick road map so I don't get confused and solder things to the wrong location. Okay, motor and mode select switches have been surgically removed from the mechanism. So I can put the mechanism aside at this point and we'll just focus on the motor. So I need to go ahead and get this mode select gear up and out, and I think I probably could have just taken the screw out. Wonder if the switches will come apart if I try that. I don't want to do any damage to these switches, and I do want to go ahead and clean them. Oh, perfect. Possibly a snap ring? No, it just lifts right out. And is it all one piece, or is it going to come apart in 16 different pieces? And is there some kind of a timing mark in the stop mode, which is where it's at right now? I think I will make my own timing mark just to be safe. So I'm going to use this hole as a reference and just put a black mark there and a black mark right there. And so I know that is how it needs to go back together in the stop position. And then we can go ahead and take out those two little micro screws. I'd rather just have the motor completely off of here because I'm going to have to try to take the motor completely apart. Just another mark so I can get it back in the same exact orientation for internal use only. Now we'll see if these little guys that are thread locked in there will cooperate. Oh, they're tight. Wow. Okay. We may have to use external force to get these things out. And with the help of a pair of pliers, we have the two little, I believe these are 1mm screws out of here. And now we can actually get to the motor And what we're going to have to do is reach in here and bend these tabs up. There's 2 tabs. I'd like to see if I can get this flex ring off, possibly. I don't know if it's just... Oh, good. It's not actually glued together. It's just wrapped tightly around the motor. I wonder if I can put the screws back in it. Either that or mount it back on the plate. There we go. Okay. That worked out better than I anticipated. I think I'll just take the screws back out. I don't want to put them in too far because it might actually make contact with the armature itself, with the windings. And is this motor keyed in any way? Because I don't want to put it together backwards. Because if you were to take this off and rotate it 180 degrees and then put it back on in the same orientation, the motor will run in the reverse direction. And I don't see anything that would key this one way or the other. So Sharpie to the rescue once again. And I'm going to want to go ahead and pop this gear off of the motor. Hopefully it will cooperate nicely, please. Thank you. Sometimes you have to ask nicely. Oh, and they epoxied it on there. How nice. I'm so glad it came off peacefully. And I want to clean off any amount of epoxy that's on the shaft because it's going to have to pull through that bearing right there. Okay, I think that'll work out fine. And hopefully the shaft is clean enough that it just pushes right through. So I'm just going to go ahead and push down and then try to reach in here and very gently support this to remove the magnet from the commutator here. And this one doesn't have... Sometimes they put little holes on the bottom of this. You can put a pin through to prop the brushes up and out of the way, but we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. We just kind of push one back, push the other one back, and then it pops out just like that. Wow, it doesn't look too terribly bad. Can pop this little ring off at the bottom, and let's get a close-up zoomed view. So I got it chucked up here in my my little Harbor Freight Dremel knockoff, and I got a very fine little, I don't know if you want to call it a carbide wheel, or I'm just going to come over here and just try to put a fresh surface on the commutator. I have the voltage reduced, so it's running at a slower speed right now. Go up here as far as we can get it safely. Face that edge off a little bit. And as far as I can tell, I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty doggone happy with that. So next, let's get the auto exposure off. It's a little bit dark. There we go, that's better. I want to take care of those brushes. Look at all that buildup on that brush. And on that one too. I just want to hit them with a little bit of sandpaper and give it a roughed up surface so they'll be able to seat better to the commutator. I think this might be the problem right there, all that crud that's built up on it. I do believe that is going to be the issue right there. Let's try it with the exposure and auto. Still too dark. So I'm going to try to just very gently try to cut a little bit of a new surface into it. And I definitely like that a lot better. All right, we've got good surfaces now. I like that. I'm going to add just a droplet of oil to that center bushing, and then we'll put this thing back together. That should be just fine. So to make assembly just a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and drop this spacer in here first so I don't disturb the brushes. And I'm just going to go ahead and give this a quick polish with a piece of paper. Just to make sure it's extra clean. And we got just a little bit of crud off of there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. I think it'll seat in just fine. Now, hopefully you can see some of that. But it is back in place. It does have a small gap. I wonder if I can get under it and push. I know it's really hard to see. Push that ring up just a little tiny bit. And I think that's the best it's going to get. Well, let's go ahead and put this thing back together. I'll go ahead and add a little droplet of oil to the shaft right there. And then I've got my black mark there and the corresponding black mark right there. I want to try to support this because sometimes the magnets, if they're strong enough, they will actually suck the motor through. Okay, all back together. We'll see what happens. So now that it's back together, we can just press these back down. I like that. Motor turns nice and free. I'm just going to go ahead and hook up the DC power supply to it and run it for 5 or 10 minutes at a low speed. Okay, so this is 1.6 volts. And you can see it's running perfectly fine. We'll take it up to about 3 volts. Okay, right there is 3 volts. I'm going to let it run probably about 5 minutes in the forward direction and then 5 minutes in the reverse direction. And then I'll put the flex ring back on it and we'll button this thing up and hopefully this will be a solid fix. Okay, we'll try it with audio this time. Okay, I have run the motor in the forward direction, or what I call the forward direction, for about 5 minutes at 3 volts, and now I'm going to run it in the reverse direction for about 5 minutes, just to help seat those brushes. Okay, motor is reassembled. Once again, running it at a low voltage, just to make sure there's no crud or anything in the gears. And I'll go ahead and switch the direction. I'll run it the other way for just a moment. And I think we're going to have a solid fix on this thing after this. Okay, let's go ahead and clean the switch contacts. I'm just going to use a piece of paper and press up from the bottom and down from the top. And we'll just drag it back and forth. Paper is just abrasive enough to polish the contacts. Very minimal pressure. Okay, I'm very happy with those results. You can certainly see how much crud came off the switch contacts, top and bottom, but they're all spotless right now. Not leaving anything else behind. Okay, the switches have been reinstalled. Just running for a minute just to polish the contacts on their own. And then solder the wires back up to it, mount everything back together, and we'll give it a try. Okay, motor's reinstalled. I thought while I have it open this far, I'm just going to go ahead and we'll give this belt a quick wipe down with some acetone. Yeah, I know. Haters gotta hate. You can't clean belts with acetone. Well, I've only been doing it for about 40 years, so I think I can. I seem to have pretty good success with it. There's a better view for you, wiping off the flywheel right there. And the belt at the same time. Okay, that part's done. No binding, no abnormal noises. I think it's time to put the mechanism back in the chassis. Now I think it's time to put this thing back together. And I noticed there's a little 10 microfarad electrolytic capacitor on the motor driver board. And I thought I would just go ahead and check it. So I'm going to just touch the leads. And I'm seeing 0.02, 0.03. We'll zero that out. Measure this capacitor. And I see 5.3 ohms on that. So here is a brand new Cassette. Hopefully the focus is close enough. Now let's do that again with good focus. Okay. Okay, take two. So I noticed a little electrolytic capacitor. This is a 10 microfarad 16 volt cap. And I'm just going to verify lead integrity 0.0, 0.01. I'm okay with that. And it measures 5.3 ohms. So for comparison, here is a brand new Cassette. Now this is a 10 at 25 volts. And it measures 0.49 ohms. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do the customer a favor and replace that capacitor. Just because I got the bottom off, I'm right here. It's pretty easy to do. There we go. Okay, better than new. Might be kind of tough to see, but the original capacitor, looks like the Matsushita, was rated at 85 degrees Celsius. The new one's a 105, much higher quality. Even Nakamichi uses cheap parts. Okay, time to slap the bottom on this, plug all the plugs back in, and yeah, I think we're going to be good. Okay, well there it is, all back together. I tried to dress the wires as they originally came. I think I did a pretty good job. Might be one or two that's off just a little bit. I don't think it's going to cause a problem. Let's power this thing on. Open the door, pop a tape into it. I do have a receiver connected, but the volume is turned down. I just want to watch the operation of this loading motor right here. And from what I can see, it moves much faster than it previously did. All right, let's get some audio out of this thing, make sure it makes good sounds. And yeah, it sounds great. Pitch control on the front. It's working great. So I'm going to set it off in the other room and let it run for an unknown amount of time. Keep testing it and then give it back to my customer. Hopefully he will be very happy to get his deck back and hopefully working for many more years. I just think that was I just think the commutator was actually the problem. And I did have a couple of commenters suggest I should look at the commutator and the brushes on that motor. And yeah, I think that was the ultimate issue in this unit. Anyhow, there it is, all back together. Another one saved from the recycle bin. Go ahead and leave me a question, a comment, a concern down below, good or bad. I try to respond to the comments when I have time, and it's been quite hectic since the accident. I have not had much time to work in, well, the accident's been a month and a half ago, and I normally take from about Thanksgiving until just after the first of the year off just to kind of heal. And it's just been so hectic trying to get back into this. So once again, if I have your unit, I haven't responded to an email. Everything's kind of on hold right now. I hope you understand, everyone. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at NorCal715. You can email me, NorCal715videos@gmail.com. That is the best way to contact me. Please be patient. Once again, I have a full-time job. I have a lot going on in my personal life right now, so please be very patient. Remember, with your help, we can try to keep these things out of the landfill, out of the recycle bin, and out of the e-waste facility. Everyone, thank you for making it to the end of this video. I really, really appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Well, the Nakamichi BX-300 came back again. And I determined that it was the actual loading motor that was the problem. Had to completely tear it apart, get it out of there, and disassemble it, clean the brushes and the commutator, and I think everything is going to be good at this point. Coming up on NorCal 715, I will have a video detailing motor disassembling, all that work, how to put together some tests that I did, including connecting these things incorrectly. Didn't have the 87 in the current measurement, and that threw me for a little loop, as the case may be. Anyhow, Nakamichi BX-300, beautiful unit, sounds awesome. Coming up on NorCal 715.